You've got the incumbent, 81-year-old Joe Biden. You've got the challenger, the former president, 78-year-old Donald Trump. And the narrative around this debate seems to be that they're two unpopular candidates squaring off. What sense are you getting on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, certainly these are both both of them are, Joe Biden's already 81 years old. Former President Trump is almost 80. And both of them, let's face it, are cognitively struggling in some ways. And to put it frankly, the vast majority of Americans, at least the polls suggest, are being forced to kind of choose between, the lesser of two evils, so to speak, out of the two of them. And I mean, so on the ground here, it's actually a little bit different because most debates, there's audience members and there's people that you can talk to just kind of get a sense of what the average American voter is feeling. Whereas this debate being hosted by CNN logistically is a little bit different because there's no audience and it's only people from each of the respective campaigns who are here. So you can talk to the people from the campaigns, but they're going to give you kind of the perspective that, they want to help promote, to help make their guy kind of look better, so to speak.
Yeah. I suppose, the prognosticators will suggest that Biden will go straight for the 34 felony counts that Trump was convicted on. We can probably expect Trump to attack Biden on his economic record and security on the southern border. What are you expecting to see and what are you hearing around you? What's the scuttlebutt?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we haven't really heard President Biden directly talk about former President Trump's legal troubles in a lot of ways. The campaign has generally tried to shy away from that, with a few exceptions. Like, for example, when this debate was first announced, President Biden had released a video to Donald Trump asking him essentially to commit to participating in the debate. And he had said, I hear you're free on Wednesdays, referring to his court schedule, of course. So that is one interesting component. But in terms of President Biden, as I said, it's really he needs to be able to say, what was your life like 4 years ago under Donald Trump, make reference to things like the pandemic, for example. And if he can do that effectively, then he'll have a good night. And for former President Trump, it's essentially a similar thing. It's, looking at the cost of living, looking at affordability in the US right now, saying, well, your life is more expensive than it was when I was in office.
Most people have kind of already made up their minds. Do you think that there's potential for a strong performance by either candidate tonight to sway voters, to change people's voting intentions?
I think it's interesting because I think a lot of Americans probably aren't tuned into the election cycle this early on, which is, I think, part of the reason as to why they decided to hold this debate so early, so that, putting it frankly, if one of the two candidates does something that makes them appear a little bit foolish, then it won't, be as relevant when the election actually comes around on November the 5th. And so, I mean, that's certainly one thing, to mention. And obviously there's a lot of others here as well. But I mean, in terms of the candidates themselves, they're going to try and make their respective arguments. And there's about 10% right now of Americans. I was talking to Jeff Duncan recently, who's the former lieutenant governor of Georgia, who is a card-carrying Republican who actually endorsed Joe Biden this time around. And so he said that the winner of this debate is going to be the one who can convince that 10% of Americans that their guy is the better candidate.